Around 10 Tuesday night, an employee of the Santa Fe Smoke Works walks out the back door. Two men walk up to him. One, armed with a knife, makes no hesitation and stabs the 22-year-old. He pulls out the knife and tries again and again and again. The victim fights back, kicking. That's what saved his life.
Hello, welcome to episode number 3 of Real Encounters. My name is Ian Kinder, and I'm the owner and founder of Live Safe Academy. I'm here today with Lou Kyoto of Gunfighters Limited, and we're going to be reviewing the video clip that you just saw. But I always want to set the stage by saying that we're never second-guessing the people in these videos. We're not being Monday quarterbacks. We're merely using those video clips as a visual reference that we can use to teach principles that you, the viewer, can use to help keep yourself safe if you're ever in a similar type of situation. So Lou, welcome to this episode, and why don't you tell us a little bit about what you thought about that clip that we just saw?
Hey, good morning, Ian. Well, you know, this clip is one of those events that could be preventable based upon how we conduct the way that we view the environment around us and try to maintain some situational awareness of what's going on. Again, this is not to be critical of the individual, and to be honest, we're not even sure at this point what happened between him and these other subjects that were involved in the incident. So we can't really comment on that end, but what we can say is that it's clear that he took a break going to the rear of this building. One of the things that we also viewed was that when he exited, he was in a very distracted mode. He had a cell phone in his right hand. It was stuck right up in his ear. You could tell by the positioning of it that his vision was probably obscured somewhat to his right. And what this did was open up a door of opportunity for whatever reason these guys attacked him, to put him in a position where he didn't see anything until it was too late to respond in any way, even if it was just to merely try to exit the area by running from them. So I guess the first point is the situational aspect of it. And bringing himself into a more isolated area behind a building to take a break is another one of those things that could have opened up a window of opportunity for these guys to take advantage of him.
Well, you know, I think there's a couple different things here that I saw that are important. First of all, we got to be very honest about the nature of violence. Oftentimes we hear people say, don't let him get that close. And that's true. We don't want to let people catch us off guard, and we always want to maximize the amount of time that we have to respond to a threat, because the more time we have, the better chance we have of an effective response. But it's also important to understand that criminals are not going to present a knife at 21 feet and charge us so that we have all of that warning that we can respond. The reality is criminals want to catch us off guard so that their action is in progress before the victim has time to respond. So we need to start off by being honest about the nature of violence, that things happen close, that they're going to target you when you're distracted, and that anybody, no matter who you are, can be caught off guard. It's unrealistic to think that those types of things can't happen, because we all end up close to strangers, we all end up close to blind spots, and it's just a reality that we have to be honest about. But the other thing we need to understand is, like you said, Lou, because criminals do want to catch us off guard so that they can act faster than we can react, our counter to getting caught off guard is awareness. And we want to position ourselves strategically in our environment so that we're less likely to get caught off guard and we have more time to react. And the other thing I want to point out in that video is one of the things we notice with sharp weapons assaults is that people almost never know that they're being assaulted with a sharp weapon when the sharp weapon assault begins. And I think this is a perfect example of this. I doubt he knew that he was being stabbed until after he was on the ground. But then one thing I want to comment on too, Lou, and I know you and I talked about this off air, is the one thing he did right is when he did hit the ground, he immediately started that bicycle kick so that he was actively responding to what was happening, and that probably helped him quite a bit, because you can see as the individual's trying to stab, his stabs are being interfered with by those kicking motions. But I would like to add that if he was armed, even though he probably would not have had time to initiate a response with the weapon. In other words, he would have got stabbed before he had time to draw his gun, because he wasn't even aware of the stab until it already took place. When he was on the ground kicking to stop him from being stabbed again, had he been armed, he could have then responded with a gun. And that could have been what saved his life as well. And that's why we always tell people you really don't want to fight unarmed if you can avoid it. If it's legal, if it's ethical, if it's practical, if you have the right to be armed, if you're properly trained and responsible, that's really an important, critical element to safety. You don't want to deal with criminals without the benefit of a weapon. Lou, what are your thoughts about that?
Well, it's everything that you said kind of sets the whole tone of this. And the awareness part of it is obviously the probably critical thing at the outset of this incident. And I would like to further explain it in terms of the OODA cycle of observe, orient, decide, and act. What happened here is the subjects in this assault basically got into his space. And we explain that in this OODA cycle of observe, orient, decide, and act, in that the victim of this, he was at the point of that cycle of combat where he had very minimum time to even observe the fact that those individuals were there. He had virtually no time to orient on the fact that he's about to get an edge weapon attack on him, which means that he really virtually had no time to make any decisions about what to do and put some plan of action into effect. From the subject's point of view, all they did is, at the point where they knew that they were going to launch this attack, he had the knife in his hand already. All he had to do was bring himself within a distance where it could be effective, and then make his initial stab into the victim's midsection. So it brings us back to the point of awareness, and that awareness allows us to be able to do these observations. And those two are really interrelated to each other. If you're not scanning the area that you're walking into, there's absolutely no way you're going to see what's in there. Sometimes it's even hard when you're doing that to actually see everything you need to see. Now, being completely distracted by being on the cell phone, and you can tell if you get a chance to either view it again or look very closely, you can see this gentleman's in a pretty good conversation with whoever's on the other end of it. So his mind is completely into whatever he's doing. And all, again, and it's not a second guessing thing, but I think it's important for the listeners to kind of develop this habit. And that is that if you're walking into spaces that you haven't already observed, you have to immediately scan that area. And after a while, this becomes just a second nature to you, that if you're walking out a door, you should immediately be scanning. You're going to see things straight ahead because your door is opening that way. But you immediately got to do a rapid scan of the right and left of what you're walking into. I would probably think that if this guy had seen these two, he would at least, at the minimum, after he kind of oriented on the fact that they're moving towards him, he would have probably tried to create some space between them. He was kind of boxed in by where the vehicle was positioned, but he had an avenue of escape which would have been to his left. But these are all things that are not possible unless you have, even if it's those, split seconds to be able to say something's not right and have some of your normal intuitions about things kick in to say, hey, I need to move or get out of here. But you're absolutely right about all the things you're talking about as far as the distance, the way people are going to attack us. They're not going to announce their presence before they do that. All that's going to happen is it's going to be on top of you. And with people you talk to that have been stabbed or been involved in these edge weapon attacks, a lot of times they just think that they're getting punched, and they're not even really aware of how badly they're injured at that point because of the nature of the sympathetic nervous system and the adrenaline starting to flow and all of these things that happen concurrently. They're not even aware of the fact that they've been severely injured.
Absolutely, and having talked to knife victim after knife victim after knife victim, it's always the same. They never realize that they're getting cut initially. Oftentimes they don't realize they're getting cut until after the altercation is over, or they don't realize it until the assault is well in progress and they've already been cut several times. And that's something I think, again, we need to be honest about when people talk about defenses against sharp weapons. Excuse me, well, what does that mean if people don't know that they're being assaulted by a sharp weapon? You know, the issue has to be dealt with a little bit differently. But awareness is always the number one most important aspect of safety, because awareness is the key to prevention, and prevention is the key to safety. And even if you can't avoid an altercation, at least if you're aware, then you're not getting caught off guard. You have more time to react. And again, the more time you have to react, the better chance you have of an effective response. But I think when we talk about organize our training as individuals, we have to be honest again about the fact that anybody can get caught off guard. Nobody's 100% aware all the time. And when we talk about defensive skills, we always have to presume that we're getting caught off guard, or we wouldn't be in that situation in the first place. In other words, Lou, if I said somebody's going to shoot you in 30 seconds, there's a lot of things that you would do in that 30 seconds to get ready for somebody shooting at you. If you're not doing that, it's because you got caught off guard. And so we always have to kind of put our defensive skills into that context for those times that I do get caught off guard, and I think that's important. But one of the most important strategies, and I learned this from you, Lou, and I know you work with a lot of people who are facing imminent credible death threats, and I have too in my school, and these are situations oftentimes where the assailant that's hunting that victim knows where they live, they know where they work, excuse me, and that gives the assailant a tremendous advantage. And the counter to that advantage is a tactic look before you go, because it's that awareness that counteracts their element of surprise, which is their number one tool. So just developing the habit to look before you go into a space is very important. I just wrote an article about this for our local media outlet, look before you go, and it's the easiest thing in the world to understand, but it takes conscious effort to develop the habit. But once you develop the habit, it can really keep you out of trouble. Before you park your car, look around. Is there anybody loitering? Is there anybody that you're uncomfortable with? Why would you want to park your car and then get out and look? You want to look before you park your car. When you come out of a building, look into the parking lot before you walk out to your car. If there's anything there you're uncomfortable about, just go back into the building. Avoid the altercation before the altercation happens. And that's very important, because even if you win a violent encounter, you still may end up paying a price there that could be very serious or even permanent. So we always want to try to avoid violence, and if we can't avoid violence, at least we want to be prepared for it. We want to be aware of what's happening. You cannot respond unless you're aware of what's happening. Recognition is a prerequisite of response, so awareness really is the key, Lou. I agree 100%. Do you have anything else that you want to sum up about this video? I think this clip's a difficult thing, you know. The actual process of being assaulted by a sharp weapon, very difficult to say that there's a technique that you can respond with, particularly when you're dealing with multiple threats. That's really a bad situation to be in. But the whole context of the event, the video clip that we saw, the getting caught off guard, I think there's a lot to learn there that we can talk about even in a short clip like this to help people. But do you have any final thoughts about what you saw in that assault, something that you can arm people with to help protect their safety and help protect their loved ones?
Yes, 2 points that I'd like to make. The first one is that what I really like about what this victim did was that he immediately started fighting back. Now, he used a technique that, who knows, he may have not even been trained to do that, but maybe just instinctively sought to keep this person from getting close enough to be able to stick him again. But I think that's probably what ultimately either saved his life or saved him from a lot more severe injuries. So what lesson to be learned there is that no matter what you do, you have to stop fighting. You have to bring something back to the person so that they don't have that unfettered ability to do what they want to you. So I give him a lot of credit for just immediately striking back at this guy that it's only obvious he had a pretty long blade on that knife and he probably got some pretty deep penetration into him. The second point that I'd like to bring forward is that the victim, even after he was attacked as he was and sustained that injury, he still was able to get back on his feet, and he was still able to take some kind of action after that, which in this case went back into the building. Now, what that means is that at some point during that time, he probably still had the ability to continue fighting, even though he was injured pretty badly. So that old saying about, never give up and continue to fight, I think that was in evidence with this individual. And I think that's ultimately what probably saved his life, or, as I said, prevented him from getting a lot more severe injuries. Because whoever that was attacking him was really looking to put the hurt on him. And his actions that were immediate, as soon as he could get that awareness that he's now in a fight, was really what I think saved him from getting killed or more seriously injured.
Great point, Lou, and that's an excellent way to end this video. I agree 100%. And thank you so much for being a part of this. Viewers, if you have any questions, you're always welcome to contact us at livesafeacademy.com. Lou, have a wonderful day. Everybody out there, stay safe. Best wishes.
Would you like to connect with Live Safe Academy, LLC? Would you like to help us spread the word so we can help more people? Go to livesafeacademy.com/connect to join our email list, subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook. Get free safety information and learn more about our classes and premium online learning opportunities. Because you have the right to be safe, no one has the right to hurt you, and you are worth protecting.